Hey, beautiful minds. Welcome, super warriors. The ones people mention when the door clicks shut. Let me start where the truth actually lives. Behind closed doors. Because that's where your name gets heavier. That's where masks fall off, and honesty finally stretches its legs. You think silence means peace? No. Silence is where opinions sharpen, where smiles are replaced with real thoughts. And here's the insane part. When you're not in the room, you become the subject. Not because you failed, not because you begged for attention, but because your presence lingers even after you leave. They replay your words. They analyze your moves. They question why you don't react like everyone else. Some admire it, some resent it, some can't sleep on it. And that's the hook you weren't ready for. The real conversations about you don't happen in public. They happen when the door locks, the voices drop, and honesty finally feels safe. If you've ever felt watched, discussed, or quietly measured without proof, congratulations. You're exactly where this story begins. They're talking about you. Right now, behind closed doors. Not quietly, not casually. Every movement you make, every choice you hold, every moment you refuse to shrink, it echoes in rooms you'll never step into. And here's the kicker. They're terrified. Terrified because they can't replicate your focus. They can't copy your calm. They can't steal the precision you've built in silence. That's the truth no one tells you. Being underestimated is a weapon, if you know how to wield it. Every whispered judgment, every hushed critique, every too much or too intense, it's proof. Proof that your presence forces reflection. Proof that your discipline makes mediocrity nervous. Here's the lesson, super clearly. People talk about you because they fear a standard they cannot meet. They dissect your patience, your restraint, your progress. They question how you hold yourself together while the world dances in chaos around you. That's psychology, not malice. The universe doesn't care about opinions. Humans do. And when humans can't handle truth, your truth, they gossip, they label, they reduce, they shrink. But this is your opportunity, your edge, your invisible ammunition. Because here's the superpower. While they obsess over your actions, your energy, your method, you're busy growing, you're building, you're sharpening. You're stacking results so undeniable that words become irrelevant. Every whisper, every critique, every secret discussion is a signpost pointing directly at your dominance, not in force, but in mastery. Now ground yourself in this. Your path is unseen because it's untouchable. You are cultivating a presence that no rumor can contain, no opinion can dilute, and no limitation can mimic. Stop begging for approval. Stop performing for attention. Stop explaining yourself to people who would rather gossip than understand. Let them talk. Let them measure. Let them twist reality in private. You move. You expand. You rise. You sharpen. Every silence behind the door, every misjudgment, every private remark is fuel. The raw energy you convert into unstoppable progress. This is how masters operate. They let the world whisper while they build mountains in shadows. And here's the brutal truth. The more people talk about you in secrecy, the more proof you are playing the game at a level they cannot reach. You are not just surviving their thoughts. You are thriving in them. You are growing while they speculate. You are becoming someone they will never be able to predict, never fully measure, never fully contain. And when the door opens again, when the whispers stop, when everyone's eyes meet yours, the weight of all those private words will crush nothing because you've already built an empire in their absence. This is mastery. This is power. This is the art of letting the world obsess over you while you quietly, relentlessly, and brilliantly move forward, and nothing they think in secret can ever touch the truth you are becoming. They don't say your name the way they say others. That's the first clue. It slows the room. It changes posture. Behind closed doors, the tone shifts because honesty finally feels safe. And here's what they're really thinking. Why are they so controlled? Why don't they crack like the rest of us? Why does their silence feel louder than our arguments? They replay your calm in their heads like an unsolved puzzle, not because they admire you openly, but because you disrupt their internal math. This is the problem they wrestle with in private. You don't react on schedule. You don't chase approval. You don't explain yourself to stay included. That makes people uncomfortable, because predictability is how average minds feel powerful. So they start theorizing. They question your motives. They speculate about your confidence. They tell themselves stories to regain balance. Maybe they're pretending. Maybe they'll fall eventually. Maybe it's all an act. That's the education moment right there. When people can't decode you, they invent narratives to protect their sense of control. It's not personal, it's survival. Think about it. Behind that door, someone says you're too quiet, but what they mean is I can't read them. Someone else says you're too focused, but what they mean is their discipline exposes my excuses. Someone laughs it off, but their eyes stay alert because laughter is camouflage. This is how minds negotiate insecurity without admitting it exists. And here's the part most people miss. While they're dissecting your personality, they're measuring themselves against it. They ask questions they don't want answered. Why don't I have that consistency? Why do they move forward without applause? Why does their presence linger after they leave? That internal dialogue eats time, drains energy. Meanwhile, you're not in the room. You're building, you're refining, you're moving with intent. That's the imbalance. That's why conversations about you stretch longer than they planned. And here's the mastery lesson. Secrecy reveals truth faster than compliments ever will. Praise is polite. Private analysis is honest. When people discuss you in closed spaces, it means your path intersects with their fears. Your discipline interrupts their comfort. Your progress forces recalculation. So they watch, they compare, they whisper, not because they hate you, but because they're trying to understand a frequency they don't live on. This is where you ground yourself. You don't need to confront rumors. You don't need to correct assumptions. You don't need to clarify your intentions. Masters don't explain, they demonstrate. Let them talk, let them speculate, let them underestimate. Every private discussion about you is proof that your presence is doing work even in your absence. That's influence without effort, education without speech, pressure without noise. And once you understand this, you stop leaking energy into the wrong places. You stop worrying about rooms you're not in. You stop caring about conversations you'll never hear. Because you realize something sharp and freeing. While they're busy thinking about you, you're free to think about growth. While they're analyzing your moves, you're making new ones. While they're stuck in discussion, you're stacking progress. That's how the balance tilts. Quietly, decisively. And the next time a door closes behind you, remember this lesson like a calm smile you don't show. What they think in private has already confirmed what you're becoming in public. You walk in, and something shifts, even if no one says a word. That's the hook. That's the signal. Behind closed doors, people aren't polite. They're honest in ways they can't risk in public. And here's what they're thinking. Why does their focus terrify me? Why does their patience feel like a challenge? Why do they keep winning without anyone noticing? Every move you make becomes a mental scoreboard. They can't cheat. That's the problem they wrestle with in private. They see your progress as a mirror for their excuses, your restraint as a spotlight on their weaknesses, your calm as an accusation. It's brutal honesty they can only admit when the door is locked. Here's the lesson. Clear and sharp. People aren't secretly observing you because they hate you. They're doing it because they fear the truth of their own potential. When you refuse to perform, when you refuse to explain, when you refuse to shrink, you make them confront choices they buried, opportunities they ignored, effort they postponed. And that confrontation is loud in silence. You've felt it, haven't you? That tension in a room when you don't engage, that energy shift when you don't validate their narratives, that tiny pause when your confidence fills the air without words. That psychological warfare done without aggression. Here's the story. Think of the last time someone replayed your success in a whisper. The way they dissected your habits, your routines, your calm focus. They tried to rationalize it. Maybe they got lucky. Maybe it's all show. Maybe they'll slip. They cannot stop analyzing you because you broke the pattern they rely on. And here's the empowerment moment. Every second they spend studying you is proof that your path matters. Proof that your energy carries weight. Proof that you are operating on a frequency they cannot reach. This is mastery. This is influence. This is movement without explanation. So here's the call to action. Stop bending to their expectations. Stop softening your edge to make others comfortable. Stop explaining your depth to people who refuse to understand. Let them think. Let them speculate. Let them whisper. You move. You build. You sharpen. You expand. Every closed-door conversation about you is a spotlight illuminating your own power. And here's the closing line for this lesson. While they're busy analyzing your moves, you're busy creating new ones, growing faster than their thoughts can catch up. And that, my friend, is where real mastery lives. They don't just talk about what you do. They obsess over why you do it. That's the shift. Behind closed doors, curiosity turns into fixation. They ask questions that never reach you. Why don't they panic like everyone else? Why don't they seek permission? Why do they keep improving without announcing it? This is the problem growing in their minds. You operate without needing reassurance. And that breaks the unspoken rules. Most people survive by feedback, by validation, by constant confirmation. You don't. So they start filling in blanks with imagination. They assume strategy where there is discipline. They assume arrogance where there is certainty. They assume secrets because they can't accept simplicity done consistently. Here's the lesson they don't understand. When someone can't read your inner world, they project their own onto you. Their doubts become your supposed intentions. Their fears become your imagined flaws. That's not truth. That's reflection. Think about the conversations happening when you're gone. Someone says you're calculating. Someone else says you're emotionless. Someone jokes that you're always 10 steps ahead. They laugh, but listen closely. Laughter is how discomfort exits the body without permission. What they're really saying is, we don't know how they stay so composed. We don't know how they keep going. We don't know how to do what they're doing. And that uncertainty eats at them. This is where your power sharpens. Because while they're debating your mindset, you're strengthening it. While they're trying to decode your behavior, you're refining habits that don't need decoding. That's mastery. Quiet. Relentless, focused. Here's the empowerment moment. You don't owe clarity to confused minds. You don't owe explanations to people committed to speculation. Let them misunderstand. Let them overthink. Let them invent reasons. You stay grounded. You stay consistent. You stay forward moving. That's the call to action. Build so steadily that their theories collapse under your results. Move so cleanly that rumors can't keep up. And remember this closing truth. When people spend more time trying to figure you out than figuring themselves out, you've already won a battle they never realized they were fighting. They fear your consistency more than anything else. Behind closed doors, it's not what you say or do, it's that you keep showing up day after day, like a storm they can't predict and a weight they can't lift. They whisper about your discipline, your routines, your ability to stay calm when everything around them is spinning. Why are they always moving forward? Why doesn't their focus break? Why does everything seem easier for them? That's the problem they can't solve. Your progress is proof of their stagnation. And here's the lesson. People talk about you not because you provoke them, but because they can't catch up. They measure their own shortcomings against your momentum. That's where mastery lives. Think about the last time you left a room and felt the tension shift. That wasn't paranoia. That was real energy. You've created an effect without even trying. They call it luck. They call it too much. They call it what makes them comfortable. But you know the truth. Nothing you've built is accidental. Every quiet hour, every calculated move, every bit of restraint adds up. Here's the story. One person might whisper that you're intimidating, another jokes that you're unreachable, but the reality is you've set a standard that forces reflection. And that reflection, it's a mirror they'd rather avoid. That's empowerment. That's your signal to double down. Stop trying to explain yourself. Stop seeking validation. Keep stacking results. Let them talk. Let them analyze. Let them wonder. Every private discussion about you is fuel, raw and unclaimed, for the person you're becoming. So here's the call to action. Embrace your rhythm. Let progress do the talking. Let your presence be felt without shouting. And the closing truth is sharp. While they're busy whispering behind doors, you're already building the life they can't imagine. And by the time the door opens again, they'll only recognize the shadow of the unstoppable force you've become. They don't just notice your actions. They fear your potential. Behind closed doors, their whispers aren't about what you've done yet. They're about what you could become. Why are they so steady? Why do they seem unshakable? Why does nothing stop them? That's the problem you create without effort. Your growth exposes the limits they've accepted. And here's the lesson that separates you from them. People talk about you because they can't handle the possibility that someone could outgrow them. They dissect your routines, replay your decisions, analyze your calm, all in private, trying to locate the moment they could have caught up. But there is no moment. You move continuously, quietly, precisely, while they theorize. Think about it. The last time someone muttered about your discipline behind your back, they weren't complaining. They were calculating. They were measuring themselves against standards they didn't want to meet. That's your edge. That's your empowerment. While they're trapped in speculation, you're advancing. You're building habits, stacking wins, sharpening focus, and expanding influence. You don't need to justify it. You don't need to explain. Let them whisper. Let them overthink. Let them measure, because every conversation they have about you confirms one truth. You are operating on a level they cannot reach. Here's the call to action. Embrace your potential like a weapon. Refuse to shrink for anyone's comfort. Refuse to soften your presence for approval. Every private remark is proof that you're doing something right. And here's the closing line. The more they talk about who you might be, the more unstoppable you become, quietly shaping a life that their whispers can never touch. So here's the truth. Super warriors, the moment the door closes behind you, the real game begins. They talk, they measure, they question. Every whisper, every quiet remark, every hidden thought is proof that your presence matters more than they'll ever admit. And here's the beauty of it. You don't need their approval. You don't need their understanding. And you sure as hell don't need their permission. You move in silence. You grow in shadows. You sharpen in spaces they never enter. Let them speculate. Let them overthink. Let them invent stories that make them feel safe. You are building a life they can't predict, a presence they can't replicate, and a power they can't contain. That's mastery. That's influence. That's your quiet, relentless rise. Remember this as you step forward. While they're talking about you behind closed doors, you're already 10 steps ahead, unstoppable, unshakable, and untouchable in ways they'll never understand. Close your eyes for a second and feel it. Every word they whisper is fuel. Every doubt they project is momentum. Every misjudgment they cast in secret is proof of the empire you are quietly constructing. So rise, move, build, and laugh silently at the fact that while they're busy dissecting you, you're too busy becoming legendary. And when the doors open again, they'll see the results, and the whispers won't matter anymore, because by then you've already won the only thing that counts, yourself.